this is what I'm going to show you how to make in this video. As always, you can grab this full template, the samples, MIDI, presets, literally everything that you just heard is available right at the top of the description, as well as the full project file. Don't miss out, guys. It's a really great deal to grab this super sick jungle template that you can take and make your own tracks out of or learn from. Do anything with it. You can even just literally release this as it is. I don't care. It's just a great resource for you guys to learn from and take your tracks to the next level. This is about giving you guys things that are accessible that you guys can really actually use, you know? Like, back in the day, in like 2014, when I discovered jungle, and I was Googling how to make jungle bassline, I wish there was this, you know? So it's out there, links at the top of the description. Thanks so much for the support, guys, and let's dive in. Alright, so, we're at 165 BPM, a little bit slower than what you would maybe think for drum and bass. I mean, you know, that modern, like, 174 or 175 type of thing doesn't really work for this. If you really want that like good jungle groove, between 160 and 170, it's only 10 beats per minute slower. It might not seem like such a big deal, but it actually will make a difference in terms of the groove. And the first sound that we have up here is the pad. So this pad is made of 2 layers. Here's the chords. So we're doing this G minor, which is, yeah, just like actually a straight G minor, no like jazzy stuff. And then here we're doing, so this chord, this is where the inversions start to happen. So like there's a big thing with these jungle chords where it's like kind of taking that more jazzy feel and really like working with it in more of like a dance music sense. And that's where these like inversions come from, because this chord is really like a like if you look at it, it's kind of like a F minor, which you do get that, but then there's technically this G sharp in the root. Right, so you could also kind of say that it's like this, which would essentially be like this G sharp major there. So that's what I'm saying, or A sharp major actually. And then what's happening also over here is kind of like another, where it goes down to the C minor. But even then, like we have like this, which would kind of imply an F minor 9 here. You know, there's a lot of like little stuff like that. And then for the sounds, it's made with, so we got 2 layers. We got operator and wavetable. And they're kind of moving at different times. And this is a big part of this sound. I've talked about this a little bit, but I think you can really see it here. It's like basically having these 2 different layers where they have different LFOs, different little like movements happening inside of the patch. And then you match them up together, and it just sounds like this one super detailed, nice pad. But again, it's actually just made through 2 different layers. So like I said, first one is the operator. So we've got a triangle wave and then a few sine waves, just FMing each other. You can see there's a little bit of detune, and then really it's this thing that makes the difference here, where you take, like usually when you're doing FM, like the way I learned it, you would have your first oscillator, like the carrier, would usually be lower than the modulator, which would be this oscillator here. But actually, when you take the modulator and put it down, like lower, like a few octaves, and then have the carrier higher, you can actually get a cool, like more metallic sound out of it. So that's what I did there. We've got a little LFO on the pitch, so you kind of get some warble tape style. We've got a bit of reverb, which is almost completely wet. You really get that texture, and then a high pass filter, and then the wavetable pad. We got a saw wave, or a square wave, and a triangle wave, which are in the same octave, I believe. Yeah, a little bit detuned. We got a low pass filter, and then if you look in the matrix here, you can see on that we just have a little bit of this square LFO. You can hear that. It's like you just get it going from like open to closed, like, and then that's happening like very abruptly. But then on top of that, we have this thing which has this like very smooth pitch LFO. So it's like, again, that's the different layers coming together, and we've got then just a bit of noise unison, some echo and reverb, and then a high pass, and that's really it. The processing isn't going to be too much. You know, I think a lot of people think there's a certain like saturation or compression or something that you want to use for these, but not really. The sound really comes more from that layering of the different movements across different synth patches. Then we have the bass line. So yeah, this is like one of those kind of more classic jungle type of bass lines. It's an 808, you know, pretty simple. There's not even any processing on it, right? But then if you listen to it with the breakbeat, it's all about that groove. The sound is very easy to do. You can hear it's the way it bounces off of the breakbeat. And that comes from that kind of like 8th note groove, you know, like that doom da doom doom, that kind of thing. And again, like I was saying, that second chord is kind of like this G sharp major. You can see this kind of implies that. So when you play that, that's another thing with the inversions of the pad chords, is what this is doing against those. So then we have this little Rhodes. So yeah, this is super jazzy. This is just meant to add some kind of melody notes, you know, almost like a keyboard player, like if it was like an actual jazz song, like, you know, keyboard player, not just like firing off a bunch of constant steady stream of notes, but just like a few little things here and there with a bunch of echo and reverb to kind of give it like some musical texture. So again, we're in G minor, and it's literally just notes in the G minor scale. Like if you look at this here, for example, you know, we've got our minor third and then the fifth. Which actually, that kind of gives you a nice thing, because you're expecting it sort of to resolve like that. But if you never give, you could actually do that too. But if you just never give them the resolution and just let it end on that, that's kind of nice as well. So then, yeah, we've got this Mark 1 dirty piano, one of the Ableton sounds actually. You don't really need an expensive VST for these kind of like Rhodes sounds. Like they put a lot of time into building this stuff for Ableton, you know? Then we just have a bit of echo, a bit of reverb, you know, a bit longer since this is so sparse. And that's really it for that one. That's another one of those ones where people would probably go like, oh, what's the saturation or something on that? But, you know, you really don't need it. The echo and reverb together, especially using Ableton's echo versus just like a simple delay or something like that, you know, it'll give you that texture, especially if you have the right notes going into it. You know, the effects are only as good as the notes that you play into them. So then we have the drum break. So this is using the principle essentially where, you know, you have a breakbeat, right? And this is just this one. Write it up with this one. And then just like a little bit of drum bass on there. But then you can hear like the kick and the snare on that don't really like jump out at you, especially when you put it with that 808. Like if I play that just like out loud with everything, right? You don't really get that like really heavy groove with the kick and the 808, or even the snare in the 808. So that's where these layers here come in. We have a rim shot and we have a 909 kick. And now as soon as I add those, you kind of can get more groove now with that 808 because there's an equal punch in the kick. So that kind of like doubles that up. And then the last layer to the drums is just this 808 hi-hat. Just like a over top. And that seems like something that would fall into the background, yeah. But actually that does a lot for the groove because like the breakbeats are really more in the mid-range. So if I turn that off, now watch when I turn it on. All of a sudden there's like so much more energy and you wouldn't even really notice it because it's such a small and subtle sound, but it's that little thing. And that's something that was really done back in the day too, like yeah, it just gives that a really nice groove. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you guys can get this full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, the entire template. It's all available right at the top of the description on my website. Definitely don't miss out while it's still available, guys. This is a really awesome template for the style. Like I was saying in the beginning, you know, I wish this existed back in the day when I was learning about the stuff. So, link is at the top of the description. Thank you so much for all the support, everybody. But it's not just about me. It's about supporting you guys by giving you these accessible templates that can take your tracks to the next level and help you get unstuck or just give you some inspiration.